talk about the memorization session itself. Now, the typical memorization session will usually have three different parts: screening out words that we already know, memorizing hard words, and memorizing easy words. Now, in the beginning of the course, we'll have a lot more screening to do. So a session can start off with, say, 50 minutes of screening out words that we're already familiar with. We'll divide these words into two groups, easy and hard. We'll write down each word on one side of the page and its meaning on the other side. We can also use empty flashcards for the same purpose. After a 10-minute break, we'll use the next 50 minutes to memorize hard words, and then go for another 10-minute break. Then we'll use the last 15 minutes to memorize the easier words and maybe do some more screening. Later on during the course, after we're finished screening the whole vocabulary list, it's advisable to go over lists of hard words every day or two, and easy words every, say, 3 or 4 days. Hard words that we feel more comfortable with can move to the easy words list, and words whose meaning we know in an instant can be erased from our notebook altogether. Now, during the course, we'll keep adding any new word, term, formula, rule, or calculation that we have to memorize. But now the question is, of course, how to memorize. So, here are a few tips. First of all, we'll make sure that we understand the meaning of the word. We cannot memorize what we cannot understand. Sometimes that means writing a simpler explanation for the meaning of a word using our own vocabulary. The best way to make sure that we understand the true meaning of a word is to Google it and see how it's used in the right context. Also, we should read a lot, because the more we read, in general, the better the chance we have to encounter hard words in a memorable context. Also, when we start off memorizing, we should pick a memorization strategy. There are many great strategies to do this, none of which is the best on its own. The best way to remember lots of words is to use as many different strategies as possible. One strategy is to look for the root of the word. For example, if we know that the root genus refers to race or sex, we can remember more easily that genocide is the killing of a race. Moreover, that makes it easier to remember the meaning of related words such as genitals or genome or genesis, and so on. Another strategy is to spot prefixes and suffixes. The word vivacious, for example, starts with viv, which means life, and ends with os, which means full of. So vivacious means full of life. Memorizing prefixes and suffixes can save us a lot of effort because they help us explain the meaning of thousands of words. This even works for such monster words as anti-disestablishmentarianism. Let's break that down for a moment. Anti-disestablishmentarianism. So, piece by piece. Ism refers to a way of thinking, a system. Aryan refers to someone with a certain belief. Ment refers to a noun. To establish is to set up or found. Dis means not, and anti means against. So anti-disestablishmentarianism was the political position of people who were against not belonging to the Catholic Church. That's actually a long story, of course, and a long word which we have no reason to memorize. But it's a great example of how suffixes and prefixes actually work. Another strategy is to make up sentences from our own life experience. Eulogy, for example, means saying good things about someone or something, usually after they're already dead. Now, since it starts with EU, like Europe, we should make up a sentence that connects eulogy with praise for Europe, such as, "In my eulogy for today's Europe, I mentioned my summer vacations in Paris 10 years ago." This sentence will be well remembered if we did indeed actually spend summers in Paris, since now this new memory is connected to a well-established memory that's already there. Another strategy is linking a hard word to a simple word that has a similar meaning. Indigence, for example, is the condition of being poor. We can remember that quickly if we tell ourselves that indie movies are indigent because they don't have the budget of Hollywood movies. That's kind of silly, of course, but you're going to remember that now, right? Yet another strategy is to draw a picture. Most people remember things they can visualize better than they remember words. If your drawings look terrible, that's even more unforgettable. How can one forget that levity means not being serious when we draw it like this? And for those who remember what they hear better than what they see, recording and listening to ourselves reading words and their meaning can aid our memory. This way, instead of staying in bed in the dark with a bag of potato chips, we can walk around the neighborhood while memorizing vocabulary. By the way, exercise is also good for our memory. And did you know that research found that both men and women remember far more things that are said in a deep male voice? By the way, there are certain apps that can manipulate our voice to sound like those movie trailer narrators. Yet another strategy is asking other people whether they know the meaning of hard words, especially if English is their native tongue. The older they are, the better the chance they've encountered these words in the past. Just grab a cup of tea and join the party. But even if they don't have a clue, the situation of explaining the true meaning to other people is far more memorable than just reading the same word over and over and over again. We can also ask other people to test our memory, thus making memorization sessions a little bit more socially appealing. Another strategy is to use the words when writing or when talking to other people. Even if we're not native English speakers, we can think of how we would use those hard words during our day-to-day activities. Also, it works to emotionalize the words. The more we can refer to real memories, the more personal examples we can find, and the more emotion we can put into memorizing, such as thinking of words that relate to happy or sad situations in our lives, the better the chance we have of remembering what we read. Also, prioritize, by which I mean putting a certain effort into organizing the words that we are more likely to come across in the test on top, deleting words that we already know, and continuously changing and reorganizing our lists. Not only will the memorization sessions become more efficient this way, but the very process will also make them more effective. Finally, remember to change strategies with words that just don't stick. If listening doesn't help, start drawing. Asking your grandmother the definition of the word left you with no impression? Make up your own sentence. Diversity is the key. By the way, if you're not sure what diversity means, write that down in your notebook. Anyway, happy memorization. Good luck.